feeling like I'm academics. Can't run away.
All right, let's do Tay K. Chad, Tay K was this Tay K trial has started, man. It's so sad. I was on Twitter today. I don't know if I could find the tweet, but someone actually I could just look it up right now. I won't find the tweet, but I'll find the image they used. Tay K the race. Oh, no, let's just do, yeah. Tay K. I love this video where he was just like stacking. Right here. Is it this one? Damn. Yo, it's been so long. Those videos used to pop up a lot. Now all the videos of him are in court or jail. Tay K stacking. Okay, yeah. Like chat. The reality of it is this. This is Tay K that we remember. These days, I don't know if we get a look at Tay K. I think we do for a second. This is Tay K now. The story of Tay K is so sad to me. He spent his entire life in the prison system and going back and forth to court. And if you don't think that's, by the way, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, because we can't sit here and act like someone who allegedly or was convicted of doing murders and was openly bragging about it like, oh, they should just be free because we like their music. So I'm not saying he don't deserve it. But there is something quite sad about someone who, again, he's hauled back and forth to court. Here he's already serving essentially a life sentence. He has 55 years. He has 55 years. How old is Tay K right now? Let's go look it up. Tay KH. He's 24. Let's just say 50 years. He'll be 74. The life expectancy of someone who is in the prison system isn't that high. A 55-year sentence almost is like a life sentence. Now I get it. There's parole and other things. And possibly he could fight it, get it overturned, maybe get a pardon. We know there's many different ways that you can still work the legal system to try to get up off or get under this sentence that they impose on you. I'm just telling you how sad this is. His entire life, and you got to remember this too. This ain't voluntary. He can't be like, man, I'm lazy today, man. I don't want to go to court, man. Just leave me in my cell, bro. They're dragging him back and forth. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if his family don't show up to every hearing. This is taxing and emotionally taxing on anybody. This is going to happen for maybe a couple more weeks again. Then they might do appeals. Then they might do, they got to go through sentencing if he gets found. There's a lot of things to be done. And we have to acknowledge how sad it is. We're watching a young man that we love his music. I was bumping on my story because you know me, gun collector. That's it. I bought a few weapons and I put a Tay K song over it. And I was like, damn, Tay K makes some good music. But we're watching this guy live his entire life behind a glass, from fuzzy pictures of people with him on the phone through the screen, or we're watching him in court just kind of go through the motions, because how optimistic could you be when you already got life? Now, to be clear, and let me explain what's going on. So he got found guilty for the first murder. Tay K was charged with multiple murders. This next case, so the first case he got found guilty on, he was one of the only people that didn't take a plea. He thought, well, if I take a plea, the plea deals were like 15 years they were giving out. And he was probably thinking, I want to be an artist. Like, I'm hoping to get through this. Hopefully, I'm going to beat the case, because that's what colloquially everybody keeps saying about, everything. I'm going to beat the case, right? Take it to trial. Well, The case was this. Tay K and his peoples go to rob somebody. Okay? Tay K provided the gun. Tay K didn't pull the trigger. The person who was robbing the person pulled the trigger, killed the person. There were multiple people involved in this setup. Women, of course. Close that back door. Don't get snaked by a thought. Those women all testified. They all took plea deals, and they all testified. Tay K and I think his legal team thought, it's one of those things, I planned the robbery. I didn't tell him to kill a nigga. I didn't plan a murder. But the way how the law works in most places, especially in Texas, well, if you planned crime A and it turned into crime B, C, D, and E, you planned the whole thing, nigga. And that's what happened, right? So not only was the people testifying against him, he got found guilty for that murder. He's doing 55 years. But he has another murder. Now, during this turned up time of fuck a beat, I ain't trying to beat a case. And I ain't beat Kate, nigga, I did a race, all that type of stuff. Tay K was up in one of my favorite restaurants, parking lot, Chick-fil-A. And while living that young, gun-toting, crazy life, there was a cameraman, and let me be very clear, not a cameraman, because it was a boy. They all were underage. And they were supposed to shoot a music video. I don't know what exactly happened, how it went left, or maybe it was never supposed to be that. Tay K and his people tried to take the man's camera equipment. The dude was not trying to give his shit up. He hopped on the windshield of the vehicle in the parking lot of Chick-fil-A. Now, this is a trial he's in now. And this is why it's, they treated the dude like he was a gnat. You ever see someone hit your windscreen and you turn on the thing to get the white person to wipe it off? Well, they ain't do it like that. Tay K pulled out his magic wand, his gun, reached outside the window, and shot the dude. The dude rolled off the hood of the car and he bled out in the parking lot and died. The video is actually caught, or the purported video, we believe this is real. Tay K Chick-fil-A. Let's see if we can find the video. Surveil, here we go. Here we go. Here we go, people. This was the car speeding away. You can see something looks like there's some disturbance on the windshield here, but they sped away after the dude was shot and bleeding out. To be very clear, hold on. I want to get the age of the young man. By the way, he was already on the run for another murder. But it was actually, the dude was on there, sorry. It was 23-year-old Anthony Saldivar. Okay? That's the person who died. So that's what Tay K's in trial for now. Day one started off hot. I probably could find that. And there's people testifying left and right. The thing about murder, we keep hearing everybody saying they in the streets. This, that, and the third. The reality, hold on, is this pre-trial right here? Sorry. The reality is, was it 2 days ago? Wait. All that no snitching shit sounds a lot better when you're free and not inside. Give me a second.
The existence of that transcript.
All right, I'm trying to get some testimony. We're not gonna make this long. This might be the mom. Is it mom?
The car was stopping and going in very short succession, just quick, and so it was like bouncing. And then, at first I didn't think anything of it. We just giggled. The Spurs game, there was a Spurs game happening. Fiesta was just winding up. So I just thought it was, somebody having a good time. We didn't think anything of it until I noticed that the car was stopped, but it was bouncing. And so I looked closer and I told my husband, I said, I don't think they're kidding anymore. Looks like they're beating up the guy in the middle of the back seat. And so being nosy, I just stood there watching, and I just couldn't, we really just couldn't really understand what was happening until the door swung open and somebody was yelling, help me. And then the door would slam, and then the door would open again, and you would hear them screaming. And then I heard, don't shoot him here.
Objection, hearsay, confrontation.
All right, then you'll lay the foundation.
You know what type of nigga you gotta be to kill a man at Chick-fil-A. Man, Chick-fil-A got the nicest. Chick-fil-A got their workers outside. They don't even keep them inside. They got them outside with an iPad. What you want? You want Chick-fil-A sauce with that? Come on.
Well, Judge, I think
The player 001, thank you for your donation. Let me read what you just said. Appreciate you. What you just said. Wait, is it on the Academy check? Give me 1 second. Let me just read your donation. Oh. He said, is there a meet and greet for the birthday event? I've been watching you since I was 12. I'm 22 now. Shit is crazy. We just approved for a few more meet and greets to be put up because so many people are asking for those. The first set of meet and greets sold out immediately. We're putting up more meet and greets. I think it should be up tomorrow or something like that, but I appreciate you, all right? I'm very fortunate that you've been watching me for 10 years. It's like, damn, I've watched you grow up. You've grown up with me. Thank you. All right, let's get back to this for a second.
okay. And so when you heard that statement that you just said, without repeating it, what was the demeanor of the people that were inside of the car?
They were still hitting him.
Okay. And so was it like a high stress situation?
Yes.
Okay. And you described it as chaotic?
Yes.
Okay. And so then what did you hear?
I heard that, and it frightened me because when I looked closer, I noticed that the passenger in the front, who was wearing a white shirt, was holding a gun. And that's when we backed up a little. We took a couple of steps
That seems like that would be Tay K.
back.
Progressed from that issue to what's been visually observed. I just renew my objection. If they're abandoning trying to lay the foundation, I'd ask for instructions since part of the answer was given.
That will sustain your disregard what was said.
The person in the front seat that was holding the gun.
Okay. And you said what color shirt was that person wearing?
He was wearing a white t-shirt.
Okay. And
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. This case ain't gonna turn out too good. When somebody when did this incident happen? This happened in 2017. If she remembers, she's not saying, let me think, it's been a while. She's saying it, yo, he was wearing a white t-shirt. That's 8 years ago. Just have to remember, the witnesses are definitely going to be the people who really tell this tale.
you had previously described this person as a Hispanic male, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
but again, the car was just moving, it was bouncing. So everybody just looked brown to me.
Okay. And so when you describe the front passenger seat, I guess as far as the person that was in the front passenger seat skin tone, would you be able to describe their skin tone and their tone of hair?
Yes, they were. It seemed to be, if I said they were Hispanic, it was like they were darker, a little bit darker, and they had dark cropped hair.
Okay. Well, any
Sitting, it's like
did have a hand.
All right, we're not gonna watch this whole thing. By the way, this was, I believe, day 2. Day 1, I'll give you a quick run through because there's a little short video.
Robbed of his passion and fatally shot for fighting to get it back. That's how the prosecution describes what happened to Mark Anthony Saldivar back in April of 2017.
It is what we heard on the first day of the murder trial for Texas rapper Tay K. His real
I might be wrong, Chad, but every time I look in Tay K's face, I see regret, man. I see regret. I see pain. I see turmoil.
name is Tamor McIntyre, and he was 16 when he was accused of killing Saldivar. Erica Hernandez covering this for us, and she joins us now from the Bexar County Justice Center. So, Erica, how did each side lay out their case here on day 1?
Yeah, Myra, so for the state, they say Mark Anthony Saldivar was allegedly attacked by Tamor McIntyre and his friends as they were trying to steal his photography gear. But the defense says that there will be key eyewitness testimony that will be inconsistent and that they have evidence that will dispute the state's entire case.
How do you plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
It's been more than 7 years since Tamor McIntyre was arrested and later charged with the capital murder of 20-year-old Mark Anthony Saldivar. Saldivar fatally shot in a Chick-fil-A parking lot right across from North Star Mall after allegedly having his camera equipment stolen.
He was an up-and-coming rapper that contacted Mark about this photo shoot.
Prosecutor Jason Garahan says inside the vehicle with McIntyre were 3 other people, and at some point they demanded Saldivar's backpack.
This man right over here pulled out a gun and turned around and started hitting with fist and also with the gun, telling him, "Give me your stuff, give me your stuff."
Saldivar, Garahan says, was able to get out of the vehicle and got on top of the car asking for his backpack. That is when he says McIntyre got out.
You'll see that passenger door open up.
Princess Reality, what's up with you, girl?
The front passenger door opened up, where this man over here was sitting with that gun. He leans out. He shoots Mark through the shoulder.
The defense says all the people in the vehicle will testify about what happened, but their testimony is not consistent, and there was never any evidence Saldivar even had camera equipment with him.
You'll hear testimony from one of the cooperating co-defendants, one of the accomplices, that the photo shoot that he just described had been called off, and that they were just giving this guy a ride. There's no camera recovered in this case.
The defense even implying they have ballistic evidence that doesn't match what the state has.
This conflicting evidence, it's worth the wait.
Now, testimony is still ongoing right now. You can...
Okay. Essentially, those were opening statements. So his side is saying, yo, they're not saying he was in the car. It seems like they're taking the strategy of, hold on, I don't think there is a case to say beyond a reasonable doubt Tay K killed this guy. Oh, if y'all have stories that he came to get robbed or they got into it and he was getting robbed, well, is that necessarily true? How could that be true when there was a scheduled video shoot that was called off? How was he robbed for a camera? No camera was ever found. So they're trying to muddy the waters here, but you know, and of course the jury is instructed to not think about or not be biased to the fact that he's already convicted of another murder. They have to look at this case in isolation. However, you heard what the defense attorney said. There's a couple niggas who was with Tay K in this case that is testifying against him. His friends, they've taken plea. He's the one that's, for whatever reason, he's taking it all to trial. Both cases. He lost the first one. We'll see what happens with this one. very sad situation. If you guys do want more information on it and a further breakdown of this case, please just let me know. I'll get more into it, but I'm not trying to do a whole hour-long thing on Tay K and this murder case when it happened in 2017. We've covered a lot, and I think you guys get the gist, okay? By the way, here's a wrap-up. Here's a wrap-up on the witnesses. Oh, wait, no, not this. Sorry. Here's a wrap-up on the first week, and then we'll move on.
Testimony from the chief Bexar County medical examiner wrapped up the first week in the trial of Texas rapper Tay K. Tamor McIntyre is accused of killing photographer Mark Anthony Saldivar in a Chick-fil-A parking lot across from North Star Mall back in 2017. Erica Hernandez shows us how there's been conflicting testimony this week. Plus, we take a look at what we can expect next week.
He leans out. He shoots Mark through the shoulder.
On Tuesday, the state came out swinging, saying they had enough evidence to prove Tamor McIntyre was the one who pulled the trigger and shot 20-year-old Mark Saldivar. This after they say McIntyre and 3 others tried to rob Saldivar of his photography gear. But testimony this week in the high-profile trial hasn't been so clear. Several people who witnessed the fight inside a vehicle or the actual shooting weren't consistent about the identity of the shooter. Some testifying that it was a Hispanic man and others a black man.
Okay. Now this is interesting. And I understand. So these are people who weren't in the car. These are people who are looking at the car, right? I think what's really going to matter to the people who are in the car if they're testifying, right?
About clear. Several people who witnessed the fight inside a vehicle or the actual shooting weren't consistent about the identity of the shooter. Some testifying that it was a Hispanic man.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. She said it looked like it was someone who could be consistent with being Hispanic. Or definitely had a short haircut, though.
And others a black man. The jury also viewed surveillance footage of the shooting and moments after as the vehicle was abandoned, but nothing has been clear enough to show that Tamor McIntyre was in fact the shooter. On Friday, the jury did hear from the medical examiner who explained how one gunshot wound to the shoulder killed Saldivar.
The bullet would have to go through the chest, which would mean the possibility of hitting the lungs, so the left lung, the right lung, the heart.
The 3 people who were alleged to be in the car with McIntyre have yet to take the stand. That is expected next week. Also next week, the jury could deliberate. If they do find McIntyre guilty, he would automatically be sentenced to life in prison. At the Cadena Reeves Justice Center, Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
Okay. We'll see how this goes, chat. Again, if you guys do want to watch, me, I'm like a stickler for details. I would love to see the medical examiner's testimony. It'll tell you how brutal or how, even how this person died, their last moments. Because, did this person bleed out, like fucking choking on their own blood? I know this might be graphic. Did they die immediately, right? Was it a shot to the head and it just died immediately? It kind of helps, depict how, obviously it's a gunshot wound, but still, how this person's last moments was. And it kind of does help make up the jury mind to be like, this nigga is a fucking savage, right? This person sat there choking on their own blood in a fucking Chick-fil-A parking lot for an hour while onlookers was calling the police, and you drove off thinking you got a camera or a SD card. Like, yeah, if we find you guilty, there's no death penalty, I think, in this case, though. Tay K death penalty. I think there was death penalty in the first case. I think there was, yeah. So he's not eligible for death penalty in this particular one. Oh, it's because he was a minor at the time. Okay, all right. And so there's a federal case law that says when a criminal is under age of 18, death penalty is not on the table. This is state, though. I guess the state didn't elect for it with this one. I think they did with the first one. Or they tried to. There's a whole drama with it. Anyway. All right, people.